Going to rounds, I seem to be no problem because in my mind, I can go 10 rounds right now, 12 rounds right now, because my body and my mind is prepared to go only for the certain limit. If I'm prepared to go 3 rounds, I can go 3 rounds. Perhaps in my mind I get a little tight only as in the last round a little. And if I have to go 10, perhaps by now I'm a professional, I've been training, my mind is a lot stronger. I can go a strong 10 rounds. It's not as strong, only barely tight in the last round, because mostly it's all mental. Because now being a pro, after going 4 rounds, I wasn't even tired, and fighting as an amateur, only when it comes to the last round, in the last minute or so in the round, I'm breathing heavy, and now I notice it only has to be mental. It couldn't be physical. I'm capable of doing it within a year and a half, of winning all 3 consecutive titles in the heavyweight organization. Well, Floyd Patterson, and Jose Torres is Jose Torres. They learn from the same teacher, but you could take 10 Harvard students, and they all learn from the same teacher in the same school. And then when they go to perform in a court as a lawyer, they all have their certain character which they perform under. And I think it's the same way in boxing. You can have the same teacher, but with the character you possess, you always come out to perform different. From a friend, Bobby Stewart, because when I used to be in the city, I used to always get in a lot of trouble. I used to be a nuisance. I used to always be corrupt, a little bad kid, mostly chaos and everything. I was just bad, I guess, and a friend of Cuss knew me, and I was in trouble in a bad boys' home, and he was a good friend of Cuss, and he used to fight under Cuss, and he brought me up here, and that's how I met Cuss. Never. Mike Tyson's career could never be hurt or blemished from any amateur career, because the people in general, the people that count, everyone knows what Mike Tyson's about. Mike Tyson's about making exciting fights and pleasing the people, besides being a good fighter himself. And not being in amateurs, it was disappointing, not going to the Olympics and all, but I think within a few years I'll make up for everything. Sparring has been difficult for quite a while. I don't think it's the reason because the fighters are not good enough or anything. They just don't like to come to a camp and train real hard and spar hard. They like to take it easy. They like to beat up on their sparring partners and get the better. But that's false confidence, I think, when you know the sparring partner's not giving his all and you're in there just hitting on them, using them as a punching bag, you might as well don't even spar and just go hit the bag. When you're in there with a fighter and both of you are giving your all and you're both good, determined fighters, some people say, well, that's fighting in the ring, but that's what it's all about. It's all about fighting in the ring, knowing what you're made of, and then coming to the ring and fight. Because when you're in the ring, the guy's not going to hold back. He's going to fight you.
I could have worked harder. It was a situation that I became lackadaisical, and I just wanted to go and get it over. I really didn't want to go there. I really preferred to stay over here. I just didn't take care of myself as properly as possible. And still in all, I believe that even though that I fight up to par, still, I should have won that fight because of the situation that happened. But then again, I never cry over spilled milk. It's over, it's over. I just base my opinion, the situation. I'm not crying over it. That's my opinion. That's what I believe. And that's was a fact because it was witnessed. And so, it's just one of the things. I was sleeping and I got my ass whipped. And it doesn't change me. I'm no different, no less of a person or anything. It's just I got to brush myself off and come back. Can I tell you something? Nobody was trying to change his decision. We were just based on what had happened. Nobody wanted to change the decision. He had a title. It's good for him. He deserves the titles. If he feels he has it, and perhaps we can fight again. Personally, because of my association with certain people, I'm never going to get a fair shake. I'm never going to get a fair shake. Not at all. I just like to live the way I want to live. I like to do what I want to do. and I shouldn't be, judged or castrated for that, because everyone does. It can't be a reason, because if I'm a kid that doesn't have any way of making it, of being justified in the social status of my peers of now that I'm rated, it's just saying, you appeal on, you stay away. And then when a guy of my status who's not educated, not from schools of Harvard, Oxford, Yale, Cambridge, and I can go places they go, I can be accepted places they are accepted, they shun, and basically I'm just totally an outspoken guy. I say what I want to say, and I do what I want to do, and people, they appalled to that. They articulate for me, and that's something that I could do very well on my own. People make their own diagnosis, and they say, well, this is what Mike Tyson is thinking. They never ask, and then if they do ask, they mix it up so much that you would never have a clear communication of what I've said, especially if you're not there. If I can give an interview where there's 100 million people looking, they will have a totally different opinion of me. Well, I believe a lot of people want to see me self-destruct. They want to see me one day with handcuffs and walking in a police car, or going to jail, or like you seen Marlon Brando's son. People, they love seeing the scene. Look, this is what I told you. I told you he's headed for that. I told you he's headed for that. You know what I mean? But the objective, my objective of life, and my sole success is that I'm successful. That I'm not in jail, and I'm not in Brownsville anymore, and I beat all the odds. That people say you're too short to make it, you're never going to make it, you're not big enough, and and my kid is able to. He's born wealthy. People don't want to see that happen. They like a success story when you're not famous, when you're down. When I was like 18, 17, they see you coming up from the Olympics and you just turned pro. They love you because they look down at you as two little cockroaches fighting, and they say, "Wow, that's entertaining." But then when you make it to the level where you can look at them in their eye and you can make your own decision, that's no longer accepted in life from society in general. And they look at you, and before, as they were saying, they think of you only as entertainment. Like society, like even white corporate America, they'll come to see you fight a white fighter because they don't respect it as an intellectual sport. They respect it as two guys in this physically. But once you're at the level where you're challenged intellectually, it's a threat. And when you're dining and you're hanging out at the places they hang out, and you're making it as a social status where they could never dream of seeing you at. When at first they perceive you as something that's a piece of entertainment.
It's one of the books that's on your night table, and the book is called The Maverick Mindset. And it says, the subtext, The Journey from Fear to Freedom. Why is that book appealing to you?
It's just overcoming situations that you believe that were unable to be overcome. That's how I take it. People have so many different variations that you can take it, but I always see it as something that you never, a boundary which you never cross because of that fear factor. And by overcoming your fears, just by crossing it and conquering it, and not just necessarily conquering it, because normally it's inconceivable, most of the things that we fear, and that we never really conquer it. Like God is inconceivable. We don't see Him, but we believe in it. And just by crossing the barrier is a form of freedom. You know what I believe? I believe if we pray 5 times a day, we try our best to do what the Quran or whatever book of religion which you follow do, and there's no God. So what do we have? We have some knee burns. We have some burns on our forehead. We pray. We may starve a little bit during Ramadan and miss some calories or some proteins or something. But say there is a God, and then we have paradise.